Okay, welcome to this session of ICANN79 mentoring. And today we have Maureen as our speaker, and we also have Cyrano, who is the fellowship manager. And today we will be more talking about the speaker, and she will be explaining us about what the processes are, what her experience is there in the ICANN community. She is a APRALO leader. She is currently the ALAC member representing APRALO, and she was the previous ALAC chair. We'd like to welcome Maureen. Maureen, please give us your short introduction, and the mic is yours. Before doing that, I would also like to thank Shiranush, who is here, who is our manager, and thank you for coming. And Maureen, you have the mic.
Thank you so much, and I hope you can all hear me. Okay, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning here, and I just noticed that it's sort of I've had a sort of a message to sort of say that my internet connection is a little bit unstable. So I hope things sort of like are okay with you, and that you're hearing clearly. Okay, just a little bit about myself. Of course, I live in the Cook Islands. I'm a Cook Islands. It's a little island state in the South Pacific, and we're actually part of the we're actually a sort of like a territory of New Zealand. So we have a lot of our education system, and we get a lot of support with regards to internet sort of like delivery within the island from New Zealand. Our original telecom was actually from New Zealand as well, and it's sort of like it's actually sort of like with Vodafone at the moment. So what we do, I can totally identify with you and your interest in ICANN and coming through the fellowship system, because I too, like you, was once was introduced to ICANN through the fellowship program. And I had previously been involved with the Internet Society and the Pacific Islands chapter of the Internet Society. So I had an introduction to the internet and governance, internet governance But when I went into ICANN, which was an absolute mystery to me, and I'm sure the same, you're probably feeling the same way. And after my introduction, I'm happy to take on any questions. But one of the things that really I couldn't, it was understanding ICANN's mandate is really focused on domain names and how we can ensure that when people get a domain name, that it is kept safe. You've got systems within ICANN that is always looking at how we ensure that the domain name system is secure and people can actually use and access the internet in a very safe and secure way, and that it's one internet, a very similar mission as for the Internet Society, is making sure that it's all interoperable and everyone can engage with everyone else. But my very first ICANN fellowship was actually in 2010, and it was an amazing experience. And I think that when you attend your first ICANN meetings, you're going to feel very, I was absolutely in awe. Not so much just of meeting lots of different sorts of people, but the different engagements that people. There were sections that were very, very focused on the business side of domains and making sure that their businesses were profitable by making sure that the product, which was the domain name, was actually safe and secure, and people were interested in purchasing a domain name. But when my very first fellowship, next door was a very noisy, full of laughter kind of group, and I as I, at breaks, I'd go past and I'd hear them. And I sort of like thought, well, if the next break I have, I'm going to go in and see who they are, just sneak into the room. And they happened to be at large, and which I didn't know anything. I mean, I wasn't quite sure what at large meant, but it was the at large community, and this was the meeting of the ALAC, which are the 15 members of the at large community. 15 members who are elected by their communities, and of course, and also by the nominating committee. But they made me feel so welcome. Even though I'd sort of like snuck in and sat down, they were really keen to engage me and just to get to know me. So I got invited to their receptions, and I think that anyone who goes to an ICANN meeting, it really just depends on what your backgrounds are, but you should always sort of like make a point of being, sort of like joining in with the at-large community, because the at-large community are just ordinary. Most of them are just ordinary internet users who really don't have any connection with the business itself, but are very keen to hear what sort of experiences other internet users are having and how we can actually help ICANN make the whole domain name system a really safe and secure place by the sorts of experiences that we all bring to the ICANN community. So, I think that sort of like when I first joined up after I had a break of 2 years. I didn't go to another fellowship until 2012. But that was because I got a new job. I got a new job with the New Zealand government in the Cook Islands. So, and they didn't actually sort of like people, you only had 2 weeks holiday, and you didn't really get much opportunity to do anything else. So I had this 2 year break, and then I went to my second fellowship, and I went straight into at large in all the breaks that I went to, and and as a result of that, I mean, I was on the at large, and my second fellowship was in 2012. In 2013, I was actually on the ALAC, representing the Asia Pacific region. And I mean it's I guess it's not common to actually sort of like be jumping in as quickly as that. But I think that one of the things too was after my first fellowship, I actually engaged in a working group. And the working group was looking at regions. And in those 2 years, although I didn't attend another ICANN meeting, I was still actually engaging with ICANN through a working group and learning, like meeting new people, hearing about their experiences around the world. And that is, like it was a great introduction for me. And so that when I went to my second fellowship, I knew a lot of people. I knew what they did. I had a fairly good idea of what ICANN was about, so that when I went into the Asia Pacific community, I sort of like already had a sort of like a pretty staunch set of friends already sort of like established there. So, I think it's one of the things that I think is really important is that when you attend your first meeting, that you do reach out, meet people, introduce yourself, do make sure that people know who you are, what your interests are, so that you can actually sort of like get connected as soon as possible. It'd be really awesome to sort of like see so many young faces, new faces, young faces in our community. So I'll stop there, and so that you can ask questions. I don't want to ramble on too far. Sure, Dave.
Yes, thank you, Maureen. That was very, very good. I mean to say, like you showed so many, told us and showed so many things about what to do, how to do it. So, any more questions? Please, the call. Raise your hand. Yes, Chanel, you have the mic.
Thank you. Thank you. Morning again, everyone. Yes, so my question is just the other day, I gained an interest on on being a part of the working group, because in Jamaica, I'm from Jamaica, there is
Hmm.
limited there is limited outreach and engagement from my country, and I wanted to be a part of that engagement through the at large community. So I had sent an email to staff at large, asking them to be a part of the communication strategy work group. That's the 1E. I would like to know what's the turnaround time for receiving a response.
Um, yeah, well, that's interesting. It depends on who's actually coordinating the working group. Like
Okay.
I mean, we have at-large working groups, which are just within our community, and that turnaround is pretty immediate. If you join a working group, which is a cross-community working group, and that working group is, if it's a cross-community working group, it's actually sort of like the at-large is an advisory committee. What we do is we comment on the policy development that is actually done by a supporting organisation, and you're going to hear about those. The key ones for us within at-large is the generic name supporting organisation, which looks after the sort of like .coms and .hotels and .banks and those sort of like generic terms. And then there's the country code name supporting organisation, which is the for there's .us, .nz, and .ck for the Cook Islands. So those sorts of, so you've got those two types of domain names, and they're looked after by name supporting organisations. Now, if they're from outside of the at-large community and they're run by those, their processes are very complex. So the turnaround might be a little bit sort of like different, because they will approach the advisory committees and say, who are going to be your representatives on this working group. So you might, if you're asking to join a sort of like a cross community working group, that might be a little bit, sort of like difficult. So you actually have to engage with a particular community first, make yourself known, and they sort of like the cross community working groups are normally appointees. So but at the same time, Chanel, I think it's really important that you are interested, because they also, even though you need to be appointed to be an official member of a cross community working group, sometimes, not all times, they will actually allow observers to sort of like sit in and listen in, and they can't actually participate, but it's a really good learning experience. But within at large, we actually have a policy sort of like group that works on all they have their own small working groups on specific interest areas that are sort of like studying topics that ICANN is actually talking about at the moment. And so if you're interested in a particular working group, it would be best if you sort of like, first of all, engage yourself into one of the advisory committees. And the at-large one is sort of like is the at-large and the consolidated policy working group is a good one to join, because anything that ICANN is actually sort of like covering as a topic on top for ICANN is actually studied within the at-large community, and anyone that's interested in that particular topic, they sort of like form a small group, and that small group meets and discusses that issue and brings that back to the consolidated policy working group, larger group, and they get feedback, and they've got information that comes from the community to take back to the ICANN, sort of like specific, um, sort of like SO. I mean, one of the things that you're going to learn when you're actually with ICANN is acronyms. And I'm so sorry, I'm probably going to use those quite a lot. GNSO, CCNSO, ALAC even. ALAC, it means the At-Large Advisory Committee. But I tell you, it will not be after one meeting. You'll probably be using them yourself, and it's going to come second
True,
nature
true.
to you. But please, Chanel, keep in touch with Shrudeep, because he can keep you, or myself. Please, Surinosh. There's lots of people that can actually sort of like direct you to something that you might be interested in, and that's the purpose of the fellowship.
All right. Thank you so
Sorry,
much,
Shrudeep.
man. Yeah, thank you for answering, Maureen. Thanks.
So, oh, she answered it very well. And as I said, you join it, you join your local relos, then you move on. Meet with people, ask them. That's the beginning step. Listen, learn, because I can, like, okay, Siranush, yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Sridip. Finish your whatever you
Oh,
wanted to
no,
say,
no,
and
no, sorry. Sorry, please, you have the floor. No, no worries.
okay. First of all, thank you, Maureen. Thank you for joining for this introductory session. Um, just to let everyone know what when Sridip says Ralos, it might um, sounds like strange at the beginning, but RALO is a regional at-large organization, and at-large itself has five RALOs, which are based on the regions. So um, Maureen is from Asia Pacific RALO, so it's AP RALO. Some of you are, I see Kathleen here, she is from NARALO, which is North American Regional at-Large Organization. Chanel is from LAC-RALO, which is Latin America and Caribbean Regional at-Large Organization. I see Natalie Jahangir, they are from EURALO, which is European Regional at-Large Organization. Um, and we have AFRALO, which is Africa Regional at Large Organization. And based on which region you represent, you join that specific
Great.
RALO and make your engagement there, because each RALO has separate discussions on their plate, though they are all under umbrella of general at large as internet end users, but each RALO has specifics, because something which is working in North America may not definitely work in Asia
Asia
Pacific.
Pacific.
So make sure you are subscribed to your specific regional mailing list. And Sridip, I will ask you to send the links to subscriptions. You can also subscribe to at large general mailing list. Um, this is where you can get all the information about at large, about upcoming sessions, webinars, the trainings. There are so many things going on in at large and in different RALOs in particular. So make sure you are aware. You might not be interested in at large, but this is something where, for your first fellowship, this is where we learn about the general ICANN multi-stakeholder model, where at large is one part of it. So um, we will be running, just for you to know, the first 2 days of ICANN79 in Puerto Rico, Saturday and Sunday. We will have 12 sessions planned for you as newcomers, first time in ICANN, to learn about how ICANN works, both from technical perspective and from policy perspective, because technical and policy, these are two important pillars of ICANN multi-stakeholder model and ICANN work in general. But you also will get to know ICANN community. So different community, as Maureen said, SOACs, which is advisory committees and supporting organizations. And you will learn more about this, how to differentiate them, who they are. They will be coming and talking to you about their own communities. So you might be a person who is interested in business sector, and we will have business constituency representative coming and explaining what is business sector doing and business community is dealing with, and how you can get engaged with business sector. And based on this, like as an example, as I said, for business, all other communities will come and talk to you and explain. So weekend, even it is weekend, it will be very busy weekend for the fellowship program, and I will be coming whenever the official schedule is up. You will get the detailed information from me, what sessions are planned for you, where you are supposed to be, and I will be along with you during those both days. And remember, there are no stupid questions at ICANN meeting, and you, as a newcomer, you feel free to ask any question you want.
So true.
Just to let you know, I myself, like Maureen, came from the fellowship program to
Yes.
ICANN. So when I was a fellow in 2009, there was no mentoring at all. So I'm lucky, and you are lucky to have Shridik now, someone who can guide you where to go, whom to ask. And trust me, um, if you don't know, it's okay. But if you don't want to know, this is not okay. So the fellowship program is there to give you the opportunity to learn. And we, people like Maureen, Fredeep, myself, and the entire ICANN community is so welcoming for the fellows in particular, because they know that you just came to learn. And there is a motto in ICANN, making new friends. So try to make your fellowship as a part of this journey. Make new friends, make new connections, start learning. Try to give you time for digesting the information, because there will be more than 300 sessions during 6 days of ICANN 79. It's a lot.
So
But this means that you need to give the time for you to digest this information. But your first meeting is learning. Be open for learning. Don't feel ashamed to ask any questions, because if you don't ask, no one will know that you don't know this component or this thing. So we are there to help, and we are open to any support. If you ask a question and we don't know the answer, we definitely know who knows. So this is the strength we have. So we can connect you with the appropriate and relevant person who knows the answer to your question. That's my first tip to all of you. Um, this enjoy as much as you can, and be open for the learning. This is the
Mhm.
opportunity and unique opportunity. Back to you, Maureen and Sridhar. Thank you.
yes.
Thanks, Rhoda.
Yeah, thank you, Sharanush, for that. For that overview. And we already had two sessions previously, and they even have a homework about joining their local relos, and introducing themselves as a fellow, and coming back to the group and introducing them, and sharing their experience about what the things are. But really, you really sum up everything. I mean to say, the real values, the real core things to know. And then that is really crucial as well. So getting back to the session, any more questions?
I
Okay.
Guys,
actually
use
question.
this opportunity to ask questions to Maureen.
Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Yes, Alice. Go.
Thank you. So as you said, the primary task of ALAC is to advise, but I was kind of wondering, how often does ALAC engage or advise in the policy development process?
Uh, okay, thank you. That's a good question. And I can tell you that we are advising all the time. Um, I mentioned the Consolidated Policy Working Group. That is basically the policy group, which it's the working group that looks at basically the technical side of the ICANN sort of like policy development, and uh, the recommendations for a change in policy will come from one of the supporting organisations, as I mentioned before. And I think currently there are about 4 or 5 small groups that are actually working on policy development that's happening within the GNSO, the generic name supporting organisation. Not often are there any sort of like developments made within the CCNSO, the country codes, because and they're two, I mean, completely different sort of like organisations, which you will learn about with the country codes being very, they work very sort of like independently of each other and sort of like within ICANN itself. So you'll get to sort of like most of the policy development that actually takes place relates to the generic side of things. But we also, within at large, we also have what's called the Operations, Finance and Budget Working Group, which is another working group which actually supports ICANN from within at large. So what we do is we look at what sort of like is happening within the, like what are the top priority areas for development for the ICANN organization itself, not so much the actual supporting organizations and the advisory committees. It's actually looking at what is ICANN trying to, sort of like what are their key areas. The multi-stakeholder model is one of the areas that it is always continually sort of like refining to ensure that the multi-stakeholder model works within ICANN. So that's always something that that they're actually doing. So it's really important that you get to know more about sort of like what is actually happening, and the at-large community is a really good one to start with, because and as Suresh says, to start off with, because you may find as you sort of like get more into involved with the various communities, is that you will find a particular area outside of at large to actually engage in, whether it's just like a technical work to do with businesses, to do with the actual domain name itself, or that kind of thing. There are opportunities within ICANN to sort of like get into specialist areas, but at large is a really good place, a starting off point, because you get to we engage with all the other communities. There are so many other advisory committees as well, and we have good relationships with those, so that we're actually all speaking the same language when we're actually sort of like developing our own advice and that advice goes to the board. So when we're actually making our advisory statements, they are considered by the board, and whether the board considers it, and like, I mean, it's not just providing advice. We give really strong rationale as to why that advice is important to end users, ordinary internet end users like ourselves, who aren't in it for making money, who aren't interested in. All we want is that the internet and its domain name system is safe, secure for every internet user who uses the internet. I hope that answers your question. And if you have any others, do make contact with us when we're when we're at the meeting.
Yes,
Yes.
it does. So much.
Okay, thank you, Eliza. Any more questions, please? We have Maureen as well as we have Shiranus. Both of them are like prominent leaders. You have the floor. No question is bad. So please, the floor is yours if you want any questions.
I just wanted to sort of like make mention that one of the things you'll notice that Suresh, Shredeep and I are all from the Asia Pacific region, and it's really interesting because the Asia Pacific region is so broad. Suresh is probably in the far west of the, when you're looking at the at a map, and from Armenia, and I am right at sort of halfway in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We cover the extreme sort of like edges of the Asia Pacific region. They're the largest region, and Shrideep is sort of like in Nepal, right in the middle. So this, and of course, trying to find a meeting time which is like conducive to all of us is as bad as trying to organize a global meeting, because Asia Pacific region is so large. And Siranush, who used to be the chair of the Asia Pacific region,
So
like, always racking her brains about how we
right.
were going to so it's an amazing area, and we know each other. It was a fantastic team to be with. I have
Women
to say
leaders
that.
rock in ICANN.
Yeah,
Kathleen,
have some other people.
several people have their hand raised. Shrideep.
Yeah, Kathleen. Yeah, first Kathleen, and then
Hi, thank you so much, Maureen and Siranush. We really appreciate your time and definitely learning a lot from this conversation. I just had a question because I know this may be a more unique experience, but sort of at the beginning of my career and changing, in academia right now, but potentially somewhere else soon. And I know you mentioned a shift to government. I just wanted to know a little bit more about how your perspective on ICANN changed, how you kind of approached ICANN differently post or while in the government, and all of that while still being within at-large.
Sure. And I think that one of the good things about being within at-large, as I said before, is that you meet people from, like with who, over the last sort of like 4 or 5 years, one of the things that we noticed was that people who were actually originally from the technical communities or the business community sector, and that actually have been coming back to at-large and contributing their viewpoints on specific, and sort of like internet user, from an internet user perspective, and it's really good to sort of like have that. Now, with regards to government, I mean, my work as a development consultant is basically advising government about different things, and currently working on a digital transformation sort of strategy. But we bring, and I'm very, very fortunate that I actually have a colleague, Paul. She's actually my boss at the moment in the ICT unit. She's the director. She's actually the Cook Islands representative on the government advisory committee. So we engage a lot, sort of like with, she's also part of the, she's also a member of our at-large structure, the Cook Islands Internet Action Group. So she sort of like is a government representative, but also with an end user, always bringing an end user perspective in as well. And governments are end users. I mean, they within the ICANN system, all the advisory committee people are actually end users, and that's why they actually are advising from their perspective, whether it's for us, it's from the end users, for the government, it's from their perspectives. Now, governments have very specific perspectives because they have their own legislation. They've got all the sort of legislation that that ICANN wants to introduce has got to fit in with each country's legislative processes and also their values and beliefs. So it's a very interesting sort of like balance. But at the same time, one of the things that's so good about the Government Advisory Committee is that the governments do get an opportunity to talk to ICANN, and that there's that toing and froing, so that they're actually sort of like coming to some sort of agreement about how we can still maintain sort of like that balance between end users and internal governments. Now, this becomes an issue, of course, when you have lockdowns. When governments decide that they don't like what they're seeing on the internet, and then they just shut it down. That causes, and so that's where sort of like ICANN perspectives from across the communities. All the communities join in to sort of like find some ways in which we can sort that out. But we cannot impose, and ICANN cannot impose their policies and stuff onto a country. The countries actually have to, this is what it's, the GAC discussions are very, very important. I would advise you to take advantage of attending an advisory committee meeting of the governments while you're there. I hope that answered your question, Kathleen. I'm not quite this, but
no, it does. It does. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nirupam, please unmute yourself and have your question.
Hey, hello everyone. Thank you very much for letting me ask my question. So this is my first time I'm participating with ICANN's fellowship, and I'm going through the courses and I look into the organizations and so many things all coming together and forming this wonderful organization. But as a newcomer, uh, I'm progressing. I'm going into the courses. I'm getting to understand ICANN better, but I hope that my interests are more basically into the how the policies are made, how the policies are being developed, and how I could get my inputs into developing better policies, better strategies, maybe. As a newcomer, I have no idea. So if you could suggest me something that I could take back with me right now, so it would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Well, it's absolutely brilliant that you're actually interested in the policy development, because I mean that is the key. It is the key point of the different constituencies within ICANN. But as Saranush mentioned, within the regional at large organisations, the RALOs, each RALO has its own way of sort of like introducing policy development within the ICANN structure. I can only speaking from the Asia Pacific region. We actually have an APRALO policy forum, which we're very fortunate with the people that we actually have within our region, who are very engaged with what's happening in the GNSO in particular, because that's where most of the sort of like heavy lifting of policy development actually occurs. And so they're engaged with the GNSO, and they bring back to the Asia Pacific region, to the Asia Pacific Policy Forum, and they discuss at a regional level how this new policy development will impact us as a region, and so that they take back from the region the concerns of the region back to the GNSO. And I think that the very first thing to do, and I think all the regions actually have some kind of policy forum that they can talk about policy at a regional level, and then they take it, because as I said, you have to be invited by the SOs to attend their meetings. We are very fortunate to have the liaison, the ALAC liaison to the GNSO is actually from the Asia Pacific region. Justine Chu, brilliant person who has been engaged with. She was actually engaged with the GNSO for years, probably about 10 years, before she actually became engaged with at large. And she's brought a wealth of information and that background knowledge that she actually has about GNSO policy. She's brought it into and we are very fortunate within the Asia Pacific region that she runs the policy forum. So engaging at your RALO level and finding out about how the current policy development that is actually being implemented within ICANN, how that impacts on your region first, and then you get to see the bigger picture when you attend a CPWG meeting, a consolidated policy working group meeting. Actually, just to explain that, for example, within at large, I mean, I was on the at-large committee for 10 years. I've just moved off the ALAC after 10 years, and honestly, time flew. I actually can't even. It just sort of like seemed like yesterday that I joined, and hello, 10 years later. But one of the things when I became the chair was that I actually sort of like I really had to understand, like, even though I'd been 5 years with the ALAC, I still did not really know what it was, how I was a bit confused about how we did things. And so I restructured the at-large community so that it was clearer, and restructured and formed rather than having a whole lot of different working groups as we did. Um, I consolidated the working groups into one working group, and with small groups that
Super.
actually sort of like do the discussions and then bring it back to the working group. So the consolidated working group is a really good place to sort of like start learning about what policies are happening within the ICANN community, but also how at large is actually contributing to those discussions. So I hope that helps. And yeah, I'm hoping that you're from Asia Pacific. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm also from APRALO. Yeah,
There we
thank you
go.
very much.
Thank
Thank you, Maureen. Simplifying is the process. I mean to say, ICANN is big. You have to take the beginner step, and that has to be very clear. And then how you lay the blocks on. Thank you for that. Now, any more questions? Yes, Siranush, please.
I just wanted to add that before coming to ICANN 79, before us to meet in person, I am planning to have virtual meet and greet session with all of you, and I will introduce you the multi-stakeholder model itself, and you will find out before coming, prior to your coming to Puerto Rico, you will find out what is this multi-stakeholder model and what communities are there. So you have at least the initial idea what sector is close to you. But as Maureen said, we always represent different stakeholders at the same time. Try to not focus in one community only, but try to use this first time opportunity to deep dive into different communities, so to understand what everyone is doing, and you will have time to find yourself which sector or which community best represents you, and which sector your capacity can fit into the most. And again, that doesn't mean that you will need to limit yourself within one community, but you will have a general idea which help you then to deep dive into specific community in future. So don't feel frustrated at the beginning, because as Sridhar said, ICANN multi-stakeholder model is huge.
Huge.
It's big. Me, Maureen, Sridhar are within ICANN for almost 15 years now, but we are learning at
So true.
every ICANN meeting.
So
So
true.
don't feel frustrated. That's the key. Um, and uh, and we will be talking about this during our special session, which I will be sending the calendar invite to all of you. So this is the start, but it never ends.
So true.
you.
So true.
Back to you, Sridhar.
Thank you, Shiranush. Thank you for laying it down very clearly. So, any more questions, please? This is the time to have your questions laid out. It's very comfortable to talk to these people, these leaders who have stood out and learned. They are willing to share their experiences. So, please, if you have any questions, raise your hand. The mic is yours. Okay. So, if nobody is raising their hand, I have a question. What especially for Shiranush as well as Maureen, that what would you suggest a newcomer in terms of engagement, because a lot of the part is learning from the ICANN community. But when they are going back, that is where they have to, contribute to the community as well. So from that part, what would you suggest? How should they start? What should they do? So if you could just light up what you did in your past, how would you start as a community member, or what were your engagements that would help them?
Do you want me to start? Or
Yeah.
Surush? What do
Maureen,
uh,
go ahead.
thank you. Well, I would. I think that for starters, I would start with your regional at large organisation. That's the sort of like the group that you get to know your own community first, and you get introduced to what's important to your community, and meeting the leadership teams within your own community. And I think that within with the ICANN meetings, most of the RALOs do have an opportunity to sort of like meet together as a team. And there's a session that they each hold at the meeting. So I would advise you to sort of like find out when that meeting is and join in. And I know you'll find yourself very welcome. And especially if sort of like one of the things that we sort of like really try to do is to, especially with fellows, is to sort of like try to engage you at that local level, and then through the RALOs, and as I mentioned with the policy forum group that we have that Justine runs, you can have a look at what it is that we're actually looking at, find out, see if there's an interest area for you, and you may wish to join one of the small groups that it's like I mentioned that the CPWG is actually sort of like developed for each of those interest areas. So, but you'll get to know, I think that getting to know your own community first is sort of like really, really important. Surunosh.
Thank you, Maureen. I will be more general than at large, specifically. I sent the link in the chat, icann.org/beginners. So for newcomers,
Yes.
this is very important for you to go to this page, find out a little bit more. The first thing is, as a regional engagement, is we do have regional engagement stakeholder team in ICANN. So this is our regional people who are working in your particular region as ICANN staff, and they are organizing regional events. They are preparing different type of webinars for people who are based in the region. And if you go to this beginners page, there is a regional engagement sector there. You will find out who represents your region. Send an email to these people. You will have the opportunity to meet them in person. Our first session at ICANN79 will be meet and greet in person. So we will have meet and greet virtual one, but there will be a meet and greet in person meeting where you will have the chance to meet your regional ICANN stakeholder team members. And during the entire week, there will be connections with them. You will find out more about regional strategies and how you can be part of it. Every region also has the newsletter, and in this ICANN for Beginners website, you can find the link how to subscribe to those regional newsletters. They are coming on monthly basis, and there are a lot of information, what is planned, and where you can be part of. We usually engage fellows are the asset for ICANN, and both for the community and for the regional team. So you are the capacity developed within ICANN, and you are the important part of the future of ICANN. Make sure
Mm-hmm.
you are engaged. You bring your business cards. You share, you network, you share your perspective, and you introduce yourself to different people. And during the entire week in person at ICANN, you will see a lot of people get engaged, and there will be a lot of networking sessions as well for us. There will be a networking gathering for fellows where I invite ICANN community members, ICANN board members, ICANN staff. So you will have the opportunity to introduce yourself and get to know other people. So learn about your region, not only from at large perspective, but also from other communities, like who is your government advisory committee representative. And you might not even know that there is a GAC representative from your region.
So
Use this opportunity to meet that person.
true.
If the person is in Puerto Rico, go and introduce yourself, go and talk to them, uh, and find the time to meet with them during the breakfast, during the lunch, during the breaks. So breaks, there are a lot of uh, uh, coffee breaks and networking evening sessions. These are the sessions planned for you to interact, to network, to introduce yourself, and uh, develop your own network for future. So this is where to start. My suggestion will be this. Back to you, Shridip.
Thank you, Sharanush. That was wonderful. Maureen and Sharanush, you both are women leaders, and especially looking at the engagement of women leaders, it is very, very less. And here in this group, we have, out of the eight, we have six women leaders, and I'm very happy that I'm helping these women leaders. So, what would you suggest, Maureen and Sharanush, for our women leaders here? How should they proceed? How should they go on?
Uh,
Maureen, Maureen, go ahead.
well, I must admit, when we're talking about sort of like gender within the communities, I mean everybody has an opportunity to participate, and it's I mean we just sort of like have found that and everyone has sort of like special circumstances. I mean, it's a voluntary role that we actually play. So it depends on what your circumstances are as to what sort of like engagement you can actually bring to ICANN. We've just been very fortunate within sort of like the wider community, all the RALOs. There's sort of like well, I can say that within Asia Pacific, anyway, there's been no sort of specificity about sort of like whether you're male or female. Everyone who has done a good job and is recognised by the community as having done a good job is sort of like automatically sort of like there are elections by the members, and it's just the way it's happened. There are other RALOs. I mean, I sort of like say that it's open to all, but other RALOs are, some of them are becoming a little bit more open to having more women on their committees, and I mean, because every RALO is autonomous. Every RALO has its own rules and regulations. So every RALO is going to treat their members differently. But I mean, Surenush was our leader. She was, an amazing person to sort of like work with. And, I mean, we've had amazing people working within the APRALO region, and I'm very proud to have been part of that group, and still remain part of the group, even though I'm not on the ALAC. But at the same time, I would just say, just engage as much as you can, whether you're male or female. Thank you. Surenush.
I will echo here, Maureen, that we do encourage female participation, but we do not ignore male participation. So there is always a place for everyone. I agree 100% there. Particularly for female participation, we do have a group in ICANN, DNS Women, and there will be a
Yes.
session, a specific networking evening for DNS women, which I will encourage you to join. They love to see new faces. They love to see new female leaders coming up. I already know that many of you are, even you are newcomers to ICANN, you are great leaders in your own community. I know Kathleen is a part of North America School on Internet Governance. This is already a regional um, uh, capacity development program, and I see already the stars coming into the fellowship. So use this opportunity to learn.
Sure.
And again, there is a place for everyone. If you know that, for example, my capacity is in drafting a policy or supporting, just to, or commenting, or be part of, as a business sector or as a civil society sector, be part of any group and engage, go there, do this. If you do not, and again, ask questions. If you do not ask questions, we will not know what you need. So use us, as we usually say, use us but do not abuse us. But here where we are to help you. So come to us, request for engagement. If you want to learn about specific community and you don't know the people who are representing, we have fellows in every community. And trust me, fellows know well what does it mean to be a newcomer. They are so open to know that new fellows are coming, and they are happy to help you learn more. We, up to now, we provided fellowship to more than 900 people, and almost 65% of those people are within ICANN community. So you can imagine how many fellows we have. We have fellows in the board. We have fellows in leadership positions. We have fellows in the at-large structures. We have fellows in the ICANN staff. So we have 15 fellows as ICANN staff, including myself.
Sure.
So we have the huge capacity there who is happy to help you. So that's my word about gender. So we do not
If I,
we do not discriminate males.
no,
Gender equality.
and if I might just like add, I mean, I think, I mean, I know I'm just like, promoting sort of like the Asia Pacific region, but we have, I mean, the region itself, APRALO, has been very fortunate in sort of like having women as the leaders of the region. Most of the region's leaders are male. And also, when it comes to ALAC leadership, interestingly enough, there have been two women ALAC leaders, and both have come from the Asia Pacific region. So it'd be really good for our new incoming fellows to, I mean, it's not easy. It's sort of like getting into a leadership role, but at the same time, like there's, especially as a volunteer. But I think that, like what we've actually sort of the Asia Pacific region has always been able to pride itself on being a well-run RALO, a very cohesive, very together kind of group. And, as we've said before, there's no distinction between sort of like the male and female, sort of like there's no gender discrimination. People choose who they think is the best person for the leadership role. And we've just been really lucky that we've actually had, sort of like women leaders actually recognised. And we, I think that's that's really good. But it's, like, I mean, the potential for leadership within all the regions is something that we should be encouraged, but it does require work. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen and Shirnush. Uh, do we have any questions, please? If you have any questions, raise your hand. The mic is yours.
Shredip, I just posted in the chat the direct link to your regional teams,
Sure.
and you will find the names and the emails there. You can get engaged in advance, or you can use the opportunity during our first session at ICANN79 in Puerto Rico to introduce yourselves. Also, I saw Kathleen posted that you have NASIC 2024 WhatsApp group. Many fellows who will be at so ICANN79 fellows are selected to participate in North America School on Internet Governance. This is a great start. And I'm sure when you will be coming on your first day of ICANN79 meeting, you already will come as a big group of friends. So I'm excited. Everybody, so many of you will be at NASIC. This is an amazing opportunity to learn. I started my ICANN path, ICANN journey with European School on Internet Governance. So my first ever interaction started at school, European USSIC, as we say, European School on Internet Governance, back in 2007. This was the first ever school on Internet governance, and that's from where I learned about ICANN. So your participation in NASIC is a great opportunity, and the organizers of NASIC actually are Alfredo Calderon, who is a great ICANN fellow. So he started his journey as a fellow. He was a part of the mentoring process. He's one of the key partners in developing the mentoring guidelines for ICANN fellows. And this is how we follow the mentoring processes with you. And you will also meet Naila Saras, who is our regional vice president for North America. And you will also meet ICANN community members who will be your lecturers and supporters in NASIC. But those who will not be in NASIC, we will start the networking engagement option at ICANN79, right the next day after NASIC. Back to you, Shridip.
Yes. Thank you, Shirnush. Any more questions? Still have, last opportunity to make your questions. If not, then Maureen, your suggestions for the fellows, if you want to say anything.
Well, I'm sort of like really looking forward to meeting you all in person. I'll be actually at the meeting, but I'm now on the nominating committee, so we're going to be there for about a week before the actual meeting starts, and doing our own doing work relating to the nominating committee, which is a special committee that is sort of like developed to appoint people to specific positions that are not that people actually have to apply for. And the reason for having the nominating committee is to get fresh voices and fresh faces into our leadership roles. So it's a sort of like an interesting sort of situation to be in, having moved off the ALAC into an appointment role. And so we'll be working, but there'll be lots of opportunities during the week. I'd love to be part of the fellowship meetings and things like that, if I can possibly make it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sisarunush.
Yeah.
Shredip, last point. Maureen, you reminded me, I would like to give the opportunity for NOMCOM to talk to fellows. What is your agenda for the last day of the meeting? For wrap up, I would like to invite you for 15 minutes to talk about what positions are open, why NOMCOM is selecting them, and how fellows can apply, and where to find a lot of information about NOMCOM. Will you be
Sure.
able for the
Yeah.
Thursday, the last meeting, the first session in the morning? I will send you the calendar invite to come and talk to fellows if possible.
Okay. Okay. That'd be great. Thank you. I'll
Thank you.
yeah, just send it on. I'll let you know. Thank you.
You will hear from me then, Maureen. Thank you.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
Any more questions? I guess there are no questions. We have already crossed time. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Shanush, for making this session wonderful and sharing all your experiences and information. Thank you, everyone who has joined, and for the people who have not joined, we have the recording. Mel had informed he is not able to join, so probably he'll look into the thing. So thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Shanush. I'll officially be closing this call. Thank you all for joining.
Thanks everyone
Thank
for
you. Thank you,
joining.
everyone.
And
Thank you.
thank you,
Thanks.
Sridep, for a great session.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you.